And we're fortunate to be able to welcome Mr. Sherif El-Nabawi to Interpol World Television. And you're from Symantec.
Correct.
What are Symantec doing at Interpol World?
So in Symantec, our main mission is around actually securing the internet. And when we look at what's happening now, the collaboration is essential. Platforms like Interpol allow us to interact, share ideas, and also share intelligence across the board. So that's specifically why we're here, to learn and to help share what we've got on board as well.
And how valuable is the Interpol World Conference exhibition to you?
So there's very few platforms that provide that level of interaction. And if I look at what we have here in Interpol, it's very open for us to go and speak to multiple law enforcement agencies, to speak to governments, and also explain to them how much telemetry we've got and how much data that we do analyze, and give that thought leadership in terms of solutions, in terms of fighting cyber criminals, and in terms of being with them on the front line of cyber war. So that's essentially why we're here.
Now, cyberspace, cybercrime and cyber attacks are at the forefront of most press headlines virtually on a daily basis. And we've just seen the WannaCry and then the Petya or not Petya attack.
Yeah.
Are we securing the internet? How are we going to do it?
So, let's look at the threat landscape and where we're going, I guess. Where we are now is potentially just the start of what we're seeing as more and more of our devices go online, as more and more of our services go into the cloud. We're going to be seeing more attacks, not on just what you're seeing now in ransomware. We have several number of verticals where we're focusing on where the attacks are going to increase, like the IoT, for example, the artificial intelligence and the use of the artificial intelligence as well. Along that is the nation-state attacks, and there's so many other forms of those attacks that are going to increase. On 2020, we're going to have close to 20 billion devices online. So that can just make you imagine how much that surface of attack is going to be. So that's going to increase with time. With that, we're going to be seeing an increase in the attacks happening.
Now, with the attack surface increasing, the number of attacks that seem to be successful increasing, and AI coming in, is AI going to help, hinder, be more of a threat?
So first of all, the increase is the main word here. With that exponential increase in the number of attacks we're seeing, just to give you things, a perspective of how the data that we look at on a daily basis, we look at more than 1 million malware samples a day, right? And we look at close to 10 trillion events a year in Symantec. If you put into that context, and if we want to apply that, we don't have a million engineers to be sitting and analyzing a million samples a day. So what we do is we have to use artificial intelligence and make sure that we have machine learning that is able to detect the malware, automatically, and then present that for outcome for the humans. So the way I look at it, it's actually going to be more of an enabler, but at the same time, like any other landscape, you got to secure that artificial intelligence in many ways.
And are Symantec bringing any particular solutions to the exhibition side of the Congress and exhibition here? So
our focus in Symantec is building an integrated cyber defense platform. So we just don't focus on a certain vertical, we focus on all the basically the inputs where it can harm the network, whether that's from the cloud, from the web, from the endpoint, and we integrate that into a platform that is open to be integrated with other vendors, with other collaborations, with other intelligence sharing. So the thought here is about having a platform that's able to address all those threats at the same time. We're bringing that here to the exhibition, and we're showing people samples of how we deal with those attacks as well.
Now, you talked about 20 billion devices out to 2020. How do you think the threats are going to develop out to 2020?
So the most important thing is actually on IoT, because if you look at recent attacks, if you look at development of the IoT, the number of attacks that have risen in the IoT, utilizing those devices for denial of service, for example, or utilizing them for harmful, malicious acts, or that is actually increasing. So by that time, when you say in 2020, you can just imagine, Gartner said that they expect in 2020 again that the number of attacks are going to be 25% of the attack on the breaches are coming on from the IoT devices. This is a huge number if you look at it. So governments, law enforcements, enterprises, everybody dealing with cybersecurity will have to look at certain different set of data, not only PCs and tablets, and the cloud. They're going to be looking at thermostats. They're going to be looking at, cars, driverless cars. They're going to be looking at total different set of machines that are actually integrated and are presented online.
But there are hundreds of millions of IoT devices out there today that are mainly not secure. Surely the security genie is out of the bottle and we're not going to be able to put it back in again.
So let me give you an interesting study that Symantec did recently. Basically, what we did is we introduced IoT devices on the network, and within 2 minutes, we've seen attacks on those IoT devices. So that's how quick the attacks can actually hit your IoT devices once they land on the network, right? So when you think about this, you think about, okay, so how can we compact that? It's back to we have to think securing those devices from the level of actual implementation and developments. Beyond that, we have to go into actually securing the telemetry of the data coming in and out of those devices, and then using artificial intelligence and machine learning to be able to detect threats, to do threat detection and anomaly detection as well, which is looking at different behaviors and deciding what's normal against what's normal. So we'll have to use those types of automations to be able, because the human by themselves will not be able to scale to that number of threats coming in.
Those are the technical solutions. Do you think there's more that the international community can be doing to try and mandate security policy or something for the internet?
Absolutely. Technology by itself is just one pillar of the three important pillars, which are people, processes, and technology, right? If you look at the people, that's what this whole event should be about, right? It's about intelligence sharing, creating those platforms where people can actually understand, how do we share that intelligence across jurisdictions, across borders, and have processes and have actual standards to that enable us to quickly share this intelligence, helping each other's, whether in a certain vertical, being that the government or education, etc., or within an industry, right? Or whether it be on a nation state, right? Nations helping each other with the level of data we get from attacks and sharing that quickly. Because the quicker you have the data about an attack happening somewhere else, the quicker you're able to proactively prevent happening to you before it actually hits you.
And is this something that Interpol is actually helping to enable?
Absolutely, because the only way to do this is actually by explaining those people, process, technology to what we do towards that as a vendor, and listen from our customers and everybody collaborating here, listening to what their inputs are, and be able to build those relations and trust moving forward to enable those platforms. So Interpol would be a fascinating place to start something like this.
Sherif, thank you very much indeed for giving up some of your valuable time to come and talk to us on Interpol World Television.
Thank you very much. That was quite quick.